Nath Madan Mohan Jiu ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Jiu ki jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishto Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatara Sata Shri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishto Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatara Sata Shri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishto Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatara Sata Shri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishto Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatara Sata Shri Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatara Sata Shri Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Saparikar Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Mahabhagavad Srila Gaurakishore Das Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Shri Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Vaishnava Sarvabhaum Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Gurudev Vedanta Charja Baladeva Jibhusan Prabhu ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ki jai. Srila Narottam Srinivasyamananda Prabhu Trai ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sada Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Srila Swarup Damodar Roy Ramanandari Gaur Parsada Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Sigo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Navadvip Dham ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dvadashavanatmaka Shri Braj Mandala Dham ki jai. Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Radha Gopinath Radha Madan Mohan Jiu ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Radha Shyama Sundar Radha Raman Radha Damodar Jiu ki jai. Jai Shrimati Lalita Vishaka Adi Ashtasaki Vrinda ki jai. Shri Rupa Manjari Rati Manjari Adi Manjari Vrinda ki jai. Shrimati Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shrimati Purnamasi Yogamaya Devi ki jai. Shri Gopi Swar Mahadev ki jai. Sarva Bishta Pradata Giriraj Govardhana ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakrajiv ki jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashana Srina Shringa Dev ki jai. Bhakta Prabhra Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Kshetra Dhama ki jai. Charadam Chara Sampradaya Chara Acharya ki jai. Akara Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat ki jai. Orananya Shaka Mat Samuha ki jai. Shri Vishva Vaishnav Braj Sabha ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Tri Bhuvana Pavana Harinam Sankirtana ki jai. Tri Bhuvana Mangala Harinama Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai. Shri Nityananda Mahajana ki jai. Shri Pancha Tattva ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Prema Nandi Hari Hari Gaur. Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Chutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakambhitamscha Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevaja Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tishe Namaha Nityanandam Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Namaha Ajanulambita Bhujo Kanakavadato Samkirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Jugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Brindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Ashto Tarashata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm also offering my Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, and my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So, we're continuing with Secret Truths of the Bhagavatam. Sri Bhagavat Rahasya, taken from the lectures of His Divine Grace Sri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj on his third visit to Badger, California in 1999. And he gave a series of lectures introducing the Srimad Bhagavatam and especially revealing the inner truths, the secret truths of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're still on the second chapter. The second chapter is titled Srimad Bhagavatam Does Not Cheat. That statement is coming from the second verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the three invocation verses. And there is the description that the Srimad Bhagavatam, it will not have any kind of what is called Kaitava Dharma in it. Even though other scriptures, Puranas, and etc., they have. And we have heard Gurudev's explanation how and why those types of cheating dharma are there, because they're for different classes of men. But for the Paramahansas, for those who are free from all envy, nirmat saranam satam, and they are rasik and they're bhavuk, they have these qualifications. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is for them. That third verse, which we read yesterday, and the devotees repeated, is describing how the Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of the tree of Vedic literature. If we look at all the different Vedic literatures are like a desire tree. And they are exactly like a desire tree. Whatever one wants to obtain, they can obtain. But the Srimad Bhagavatam's position is the ripened fruit on that tree. The sweet ripened fruit. And just as a parrot is very attracted, cuckoo birds and parrots, they're very attracted to fruits that are ripe on the trees, especially mango. And with their beaks, they bite into the fruits, and they have a substance on their beaks that causes the fruit to become more sweet. So that exact example is being given by Srila Vyasadeva, that Shukadev Goswami is like that parrot. And because the Srimad Bhagavatam, written by Vyasadeva, but really presented to the world by Shukadev Goswami, and now it has become even more sweet. So therefore he's saying, "O expert and thoughtful men." He's using the term expert and thoughtful. Srila Prabhupada is using in his translation. What is that referring to? It's referring to Rasika and Bhavuka. We talked about that yesterday. But it's interesting how Prabhupada kind of downplayed almost the very rasa-filled understanding of what these words mean, Rasika and Bhavuka. But it was not the right time for Srila Prabhupada, but in his purport, he explained that. It's not the right time when he was first presenting the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, expert and thoughtful men. Relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadev Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarine juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Because Shukadev Goswami is a liberated soul, and so many others are attracted to this nectar of Krishna Katha. So, we're continuing on after hearing yesterday that Swarup Damodar Goswami has told that Jaha Bhagavata Para Vaishnavarastani. If you want to study the Srimad Bhagavatam, then you must go to a pure Vaishnava. There is no other way. Ja Bhagavat Para Vaishnavera Stani. Vaishnavera Stani means where that pure Vaishnava is, you go and you sit and you bow down and you offer your very self and you hear from that Vaishnava. If you want to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, you will have to do this. He says, if you want to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, you must approach a self-realized Vaishnava and you must hear from him. Now, so many devotees are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Shankaracharya also read it. Who is Shankaracharya? You should know.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Who is Shankaracharya is the incarnation of Lord Shiva, who presented the Mayavad philosophy. So, but he's a very well-known authority in India. So Gurudev is pointing out that so many devotees are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Shankaracharya also read it. And all his sannyasis, Mayavadi sannyasis, they also read it. Mayavadis also read Srimad Bhagavatam. Without their doing so, their business could not advance. They would not be able to attain followers and money, respect and praise if they did not read Srimad Bhagavatam. It is for these reasons that they read it. Actually, they are very, very learned, and they can explain hundreds of meanings for one word. Sanskrit scholars, as Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did. Who's Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya?
He's the guru of the demigods.
Brihaspati. But in Chaitanya Leela, who is he? What was his position?
He took in Lord Chaitanya.
When he arrived in Jagannath Puri,
Mm-hmm.
he fainted in front of Jagannath.
Right.
And he brought him to his home, and Mahaprabhu listened to him for 7 days and then converted him.
That's right.
to Vaishnava
Yes.
philosophy.
But he was one of the topmost scholars in all of India. Even though he was not a sannyasi, but many hundreds and hundreds of sannyasis were coming to him to hear Vedanta Sutra. So, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was so learned that he and these various sannyasis of the Mayavad sect, they can explain Sanskrit words so expertly, break them down, tell all the different meanings like that. So, Gurudev is saying, actually, they're very, very learned, and they can explain hundreds of meanings for one word, as Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya did. They know more than we do, Gurudev is saying. But actually, they do not understand Srimad Bhagavatam at all. Why? Because they do not hear from a realized Vaishnava who is rasik, who can taste rasa. And also, he's bhavuk. He has bhav, transcendental emotion. The Srimad Bhagavatam has come from Krishna. It has come from Krishna through the Guru Parampara. Who is Srila Sukadeva Goswami? He is the parrot of Srimati Radhika. He has seen and tasted all the pastimes of Krishna with his own eyes. As the parrot of Radhika, he has seen and tasted all the pastimes of Krishna with his own eyes, and with his own senses, and with his own intelligence. Anyone who has not read Srimad Bhagavatam with a pure, rasik, and bhavuk Bhagavat in this line, they cannot really explain it. That nectar will not come to him. If one has not come in line with this process, if one has not read or heard Srimad Bhagavatam in this disciplic line, and has not become rasik and bhavak. He can neither touch the real meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam nor explain it. He can utter the words, and there is no harm in that. In other words, he can give some explanations, but the fruit will not be like that which Srila Shukadev Goswami gave to Parikshit Maharaj and others. So very clear, right? Very clear. Who you must hear from. There are some devotees, like Srila Shukadev Goswami, who have read Srimad Bhagavatam with their Gurudev, and they themselves are Vasik and Bhavuk. But still they cannot explain it fully. Why? What is the reason? They have heard with their Gurudev. They're also Rasik and Bhavuk, but they cannot explain it fully. Why? When they explain certain portions, they remember Krishna's pastimes, and at once they faint. They become unconscious and unable to speak. If Krishna himself were to try to explain it, he would be the first person to faint. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for example, he could not explain Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, he sometimes wanted to hear it from Sri Gadadhar Pandit. And if Radhika were to hear even the first words of the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmad Yasya Yato, then what would happen? If Srimati Radhika were to hear even the first words of the first chapter of Bhagavatam, what would happen? Oh, she would remember Krishna and at once faint. So she also cannot explain it. Why can they not explain it? Because they'll faint. Can you explain anything when you're in a fainted condition? No. You're rendered completely senseless. This is the point. That level of Vaishnava, they also cannot. Now, Gadadhar Pandit, who's who? Who is Gadadhar Pandit? Yes, in Gauri. So Gadadhar Pandit, he was living in Puri, and he was serving the deity of Tota Gopinath in Jagannath Puri. And every day Mahaprabhu would come and sit with Gadadhar. Gadadhar would read Srimad Bhagavatam to Mahaprabhu and weeping and weeping. So Gadadhar Pandit also, he was always weeping, but because Mahaprabhu desired to hear from him, Yogamaya arranged that he would not faint. Radha and Krishna may give special mercy like they gave to Shukadev Goswami. So just before entering their aprakat lila, you know what aprakat lila means? They're disappearing from this world and going to the Nityadam. So just before entering their unmanifest pastimes, these are called. So who? Radha and Krishna. Just before they entered into aprakat lila, they gave to Sukadev Goswami special mercy. They ordered him, you should remain in this world. We are going. Who were they talking to? Shukadev Goswami in the form of Radhika's parent. So Radha and Krishna both, they ordered him, you should remain in this world. We are going, but you should stay here for some time. We are giving you special mercy so that you can explain Srimad Bhagavatam to everyone. You will not faint when doing so, because we're giving you special mercy that you will not faint. There may be a chance that you will fall unconscious when you remember me or Radhika while speaking the Brahmara Gita or the Ras Leela or other such pastimes. There may be a chance. So do not utter the name of Radhika and me directly in those parts. You understand? Because if he would even mention the name of Radhika, this is why in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the direct mention of her name is hidden. Because if he would say it, he would become unconscious for 6 months and he would not be able to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah? Yeah? So do not utter the name of Radhika and me directly in those parts. Which parts? The highest parts of the Bhagavatam. Brahmara Gita. You know what that is? Brahmara Gita. Brahmara means bumblebee. It's this Gita, the song of the bumblebee. And what is that song? If you read the Krishna book, you can hear that pastime. How when Uddhava was coming and meeting with the gopis to deliver the message of Krishna to the gopis after Krishna had left Vrindavan. So Uddhava was sent by Krishna to meet the gopis. And he stayed for 2 months with the gopis in Vrindavan. Krishna wanted him to go to the university of the gopis, especially of Srimati Radhika. And at the end of Uddhava's stay, he gave many prayers, which are there in the, I think it's 47th chapter of the 10th canto, where he prayed to become a bush or a shrub in Vrindavan, so that he could have the dust particle from the lotus feet, especially of Srimati Radhika. This was his prayer. And he was fulfilled, that prayer was fulfilled. And there's a place called Uddhava Kunda, which is near to Radhakunda. And there he is eternally existing in the form of the shrubs and different bushes and like that. And that was proven because 5,000 years ago, after Krishna departed from the planet, there's an amazing pastime that took place where the great-grandson of the great-grandson of Krishna, his name was Maharaj Vajranabha. So he's the one who came to Braj after Krishna departed. He brought the queens of Dwarka to Braj. And when they came near to this place, that place near Radhakunda, Uddhava Kunda, you can look in the Braj Mandala Parikrama book, the name is there, it tells about this, Uddhava's Kunda. So, when they came there, they began to do kirtan. Maharaj Vajranava, he's the one that installed all the deities. And he made kundas all over Braj Mandala and all in memory of Krishna and Krishna's pastimes. But over 5,000 years, all of that disappeared. Even the deities, they had to be rediscovered again. You know, that's what the 6 Goswamis were sent to also do that, to rediscover the Govindaji, Gopinath, Madan Mohan, and other deities and other sacred places, to reveal the pastimes of Krishna, which had been forgotten over time. So 5,000 years ago, just after Krishna's disappearance, so Maharaj Vajranabha came there from Dwarka with the queens, and they were touring around Braj Mandala. And then they began to perform kirtan. And their kirtan became so heartfelt with moods of separation from Krishna. So when they were performing that kirtan, then Uddhava appeared from the shrubs and joined the kirtan. And then as they were performing that kirtan in more and more deep moods, then Radha and Krishna personally appeared with the gopis, and they began to dance and sing. That vision was given to all the queens. And then the scene disappeared. So this is the proof that Uddhava is living there permanently in the form of the bushes and trees.
All of them?
Yeah, you can say like that. You can say like that. Yes, so Radha and Krishna were telling to the parrot, Shuka, that we are giving you special mercy because you have to remain behind. We are going now, but you must remain behind and you must give the Srimad Bhagavatam to the world. You're qualified to do that. So we're going to give you special mercy so that you can explain the Srimad Bhagavatam to everyone. And you will not faint when you are doing so. But still there's a chance that you will fall unconscious when you remember me or Radhika while speaking the Brahmara Gita, the song of the bumblebee, which Srimati Radhika is telling that song, and also the Ras Leela and other such very rustic pastimes. He said that there's a chance that you might fall unconscious when you remember me and Radhika. So do not utter the name of Radhika and me directly in those parts. Try to subdue your feelings. So special mercy will come from us, which will enable you to explain Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise it will be very difficult for you, very difficult. So now you've heard this confidence. You haven't heard this before, huh? You did? Okay. So now Gurudev is explaining in the next section is titled, Who Can Explain Rasa? Who can explain rasa? Here Gurudev is telling that if one is not rasik, he cannot explain Srimad Bhagavatam. If one is not rasik, he cannot explain Srimad Bhagavatam. This is because Srimad Bhagavatam is the very form of rasa. It's not a book. It's rasa in the form of a book. You see? So Brajendra Nandan is the rasa swarup. He is the embodiment of all rasa and transcendental relationships. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also rasa swarup. So this is a very high subject. We can explain a semblance or an abas of this topic. You can imagine that if the semblance is like this, then how powerful it is when Rasik and Bhavak Bhaktas like Gadadhar Pandit, Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, when they explain Srimad Bhagavatam. If you have read the Brihad Bhagavatam written by Sanatana Goswami, then you can imagine something of this, otherwise you cannot. The Srimad Bhagavatam is like a very high-class transcendental treasure, more valuable than Chintamani, desire stone. So Srimad Bhagavatam cannot be compared even with Chintamani. Those who try to compare the two, they're foolish. So for the benefit of those who have no taste for the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami has started with the very first verse of the 10th canto. For those who have no taste, right? So he's telling, actually this is not the first verse, this is the 4th verse of the first chapter of the 10:1-4. Wait a second. 10th canto, 10th canto, first chapter, 4th verse. So this verse is telling about for the persons who have no taste for Srimad Bhagavatam. Nivritta tarshayar upagiya manad bhavo sadat shtrotra mano viramat ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat puman virajeta vina pushugnat. So, here, Nivritta tarshayar upagiya manad. Nivritta tarshayar means those exalted personalities who are completely free from all material desires and material dirt and contamination. So, here the translation is telling glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false, temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. This is who is relishing those messages. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine. Here in this verse, he's talking about Oshadi. Oshadi is the word in Ayurvedic medicine which means medicine, Oshad. And here there's the term Bhava Oshadir. So it is the medicine, it is the right medicine. These descriptions of the Lord is the right medicine for the conditioned soul who is undergoing repeated birth and death. This will cure that. So therefore, he asks the question, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord? He says only one type of person will cease to hear the glorification, such glorification of the Lord. And here he says, Pushugnat. Puman virajeta vina pushugna. So the word Pashu, Pashugnat, Gnat means killer. And Pashu means animal. Pashugnat. So here, the word is being used, a butcher, someone who kills animals. They will not be interested. But this word Pashugnat, it is also referring to the Atma. Pashu can also refer to the Atma, killer of the soul, killer of the Atma. They will not be interested. So this is the point that is being made right in the very beginning of the 10th canto. This is the right medicine. And those who are free from all material desires of this world, they will hear that medicine and relish and taste it. So who could possibly not be attracted to such messages? Only one kind, Pushugna. Those who are butchers. So then Gurudev says, those who think only about worldly problems, and they thus give up hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. They are thinking about worldly problems, then they give up hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from any devotee in the line of Sri Sukadeva Goswami or Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur and others who have left behind all the worldly desires. Those persons, they are like butchers. Gurudev is telling. Gurudev is not telling. The verse is telling. The verse is telling. So actually, they're worse than butchers. They are committing suicide, and are thus butchers of their own souls. In this context, butcher does not only mean a killer of animals, it also means a killer of one's self. The entire future progress of such a person is blocked. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in this process is the only Maha Oshadhi, the great medicine, the panacea for this world. Hearing it will not go in vain. Although it is medicine, it is sweet like nectar. It has also been stated. Then he quotes another verse. Did you have a Question or anything? No.
Oh, I was just trying, because when you first said killer, I was thinking that trying to remember another Bhagavatam verse that said something. I think I was confusing it with another verse about like if you do not accept Guru, you are also the killer of your soul. But I think I was mixing two verses together. And this is the verse. This is the
Well, you know what? That's the verse that's coming right now. Yes. Now Gurudev is quoting another verse which has the term in it, Atmaha, killer of the Atma. Okay? So here's that verse. Nrideham adyam sulabam sudurlabam plavam sukalpam guru karnadaram mayanukulena nabaspateritam puman bhavabdim nataret sa'atmaha. So this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 20th chapter, 17th verse. So Gurudev is quoting both of these two verses, the one we just heard and this one. And what this means is Nri Deha Adyam. So here means Nri means human. Nara, Nri, Nri Deham. Nri Deham means human body. So here Srimad Bhagavatam is telling that while the human body, which permits one to attain all benefits in life, while it is obtained automatically in due course, right? Because all the different species of life, gradually, automatically it is attained. But nevertheless, although that's the case, it is a rare facility that may be likened to a very dependable boat. You see, plavam sukalpam. Plavam sukalpam means very, very good boat, big boat. The kind that can cross the ocean. Very big ship. So the human body here is being compared to an excellent boat that can cross over Maya, the whole material existence, with the human birth and the human intelligence and so forth, right? So, but even though it's automatically obtained in the course of the soul's journey, but still, sudurlabham means it's very rare. It's very rare in the material world to get a human body. How many are there? 8 billion human beings on this planet, right? And most of them, they know nothing about the Vedic knowledge, right? But how many insects are there? How many plant life? How many animal life even? Oh, many, many billions and maybe even trillions, you know? So the human body, although there's 8,400,000 species, but how long does a jiva stay in a particular species? They stay, in some cases, just for a few minutes. In the tiny little microbial species, insects, a couple of days, like this. But they're going through this automatically. Now, the thing is that the Bhagavatam is saying, Nirdeham Adyam Sulabham Sudurlabham. It is automatically obtained, the human form, but it is durlabham, sudurlabham, very, very rare. And not only that, but this human body is compared to an excellent ocean-going ship. Now, Guru is being mentioned next, because if you don't have a captain to navigate the ship, can you cross? Never. Never. You have to have a captain. So here it says, Guru Karnadharam. That means that Sri Guru is the captain of this ship. How? By Karnadaram. Karna means, in this case, your ears. Through hearing from Sri Guru, he will become the captain of the ship of this human body. And then he will make sure that you can go across very nicely and very easily. So, then he says, in order to go across, at least in former times, you had to have good winds, because they did not have engine boats and like that. They had sailboats. That's how people were crossing the vast oceans, by sailing. So, the next point is given, Mayanu Kulena Navasvateritam. What does this mean? This means, so here, actually Krishna in the form of his instructions, he's telling, I am the favorable wind, in connection with this pastime. Okay? So Gurudev was in Hawaii the same year, in 1999. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai. So, he says, the footnote is telling, that in a lecture in Maui, Hawaii, May of 1999, Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj explained that Srimati Radhika dearly loves her parrot. She loves her parrot. Sometimes she takes him on her left hand, and she gives him pomegranate seeds, or she gives rice and milk. And then caressing him, she tells him, "Oh parrot, can you repeat after me? Krishna, 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 Krishna." Then in the same tune as Radhika, the parrot says, "Krishna, Krishna." So Gurudev is pointing out that this parrot, because he is the servant of Srimati Radhika, this parrot, he knows how sweet and beautiful Krishna is. Yes. So this parrot is always with Radhika, and he knows everything that happens. Radhaya Pranaya Mahima. This is an excerpt from a shloka by Swarup Damodar Goswami, where he's explaining the three desires of Krishna. Why he came as Mahaprabhu, to fulfill three desires. You know what those desires are?
Not the word that you're looking for.
Okay, so Krishna was contemplating how Srimati Radhika, how her praying is so vast and great and all-pervading. Her praying. And Krishna could not comprehend that praying of Radhika. Also, Swadyo Yenad Bhuta Madhurima Kidrisho Vamadiya. What kind of experience that Radhika tastes when she tastes Krishna's sweetness. Madhurima means his sweetness, right? Then Sokyam Chasyam Mad Anubhavata Kidrisham Veti Lovat, which means that Krishna was trying to understand the Sokyam. Sokyam means happiness. The happiness that Radhika experiences through her love. There's a very thorough, in-depth description of this verse in what?
Chapter 4.
Yes, chapter 4 of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Gurudev is pointing out that this parrot is always with her and he knows everything that happens. Radhaya Pranaya Mahima. He knows Krishna's 4 types of madhuris, sweetness. Krishna has 4 different qualities they're called his 4 madhuris. You know what those are? Rupa, yeah, that's one of them. Rupa Madhuri, means the sweetness of his rupa, of his form. Rupa Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, the sweet sound of his flute. Only Krishna has this quality. No other form, no other expansion of Krishna. So, Rupa Madhuri, Venu Madhuri, Lila Madhuri. Lila Madhuri, his sweet, sweet pastimes. And also Guna Madhuri, but that's mixed in with Lila Madhuri. Then there's also Prema Madhuri, the sweetness of the prem that is in the hearts of Krishna's eternal associates in Braja, Vrindavan, especially the gopis. So, the parrot, he knows Krishna's 4 types of madhuris. He knows. Because he is the servant of Srimati Radhika, he knows how sweet and how beautiful Krishna is. Unlike Krishna, that parrot also knows the happiness tasted by Srimati Radhika. So the parrot even knows more than Krishna. Because Krishna can't comprehend the happiness tasted. But this parrot knows. You see? What's the word for parrot in Espanol?
Loro.
O perico.
Perico. Yeah. Okay. Same base. Perico. So this perico, he knows. He knows more than Krishna about Radha. That's the thing. Now, he knows the happiness that Srimati Radhika tastes in Krishna. And, you know, Krishna, he wants to taste what Srimati Radhika tastes. Krishna wants to taste this. And that is why he had to steal her heart. By stealing her heart, that means her bhav and her kanti, her golden color and her bhav, her emotions. Krishna had to steal. Why? In order for him to taste what Radhika is tasting. He had to become Radhika, Krishna. That's why he became Gaur Sundar, the golden. But this parrot, he has no need to steal because he is always serving her. So Krishna may have to steal the heart of Radhika, but the parrot does not. Understand? So this parrot, he knows everything. He knows everything. And he is Rasik and he is Bhavik. So he knows more than Krishna. And this is why Krishna deputed him to remain in this world and manifest the Srimad Bhagavatam. So you understand up to this point, this discussion, very important. Actually, Srila Gurudev revealed this. We never heard this before, about how Shukadev Goswami is the parrot of Srimati Radhika. There's a whole pastime. There's a whole pastime about how Shukadev Goswami appeared from the womb of the wife of Vyasadeva. How did he become the son of Vyasadeva? Did you ever hear a pastime? Yes. You see, I'll try to remember the details. Lord Shiva, Mahadev, he's the topmost Vaishnava. And Lord Shiva, he was reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam to Parvati. Right? And this parrot, the Shukadev, Shuka, the parrot perched himself, flew into a tree just nearby. And Mahadev Shiv was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam because he knows Srimad Bhagavatam. So he was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam to Parvati. But Parvati, sometimes being a woman, she was falling asleep. Yes. But the parrot was telling in the voice of Parvati, oh, continue speaking more. Continue speaking more. And Lord Shiva was in trance, you understand? So he didn't even notice. But when he completed this, and he came out of his trance, then he saw that Parvati was sleeping. But he was wondering who was speaking then, who was speaking in her voice. And then he noticed this parrot in the branches of the tree. And he became very angry at this parrot, right? Because he was illegally hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Mahadev Shiv took his trident and he began to chase the parrot. Now, in another area, the parrot was flying and flying and flying. And where was he flying towards? The place where Vyasadeva was also speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam to his wife. And when Vyasadeva was explaining the extraordinary beauty and sweet pastimes of Krishna, then the wife of Vyasadeva, her mouth opened wide with amazement, like, and at that moment, the parrot flew into her mouth and went into her womb. Then suddenly Lord Shiva arrived. Lord Shiva arrived there. And then Vyasadeva said, oh, Mahadev, why are you here? I'm chasing this parrot. And why are you chasing this parrot? Because he has illegally heard Srimad Bhagavatam, unlawfully. And then Vyasadeva said to him, then what do you want to do? I want to kill him. And then Vyasadeva said to him, but Mahadev, if you just said he just heard Srimad Bhagavatam, so what is the result of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? And then Shiva said, you become immortal. Immortal. And then Vyasadeva said, then why are you chasing to try to kill? And then Shiva said, yes, acha, acha. So Gurudev explained this story. So the parrot, Shuka, became the son of Vyasadeva. That's how Shukadeva Goswami appeared from the womb of the wife of Vyasadeva. But you know that also he stayed in the womb for a very long time. Do you know how long? 16 years. Why did he stay in the womb for 16 years? Do you know why? You know why?
Yeah. Porque no quería salir al mundo material.
Yeah. He's not interested in coming into the material world.
Yes.
You see? Why? Because he was a liberated soul. But what we have to understand, that there was another jiva who was an impersonalist, liberated impersonalist, who came and mixed into the body of Shukadeva Goswami, and that's why Shukadeva Goswami didn't want to come out. Why? Because he did not see any difference. Everything is one. If I'm here, if I'm outside of the womb, all same. You see? So Shukadeva Goswami stayed in the womb for 16 years. But as soon as he came out of the womb, what did he do? He immediately left home. That's the verse that Gurudev would recite every day when he would recite Srimad Bhagavatam. Yam pravajantam tamanupetam apeta krityam vaipayano virahakatara ajuhava putreti tam mayatayo taravo vinedus tam sarva bhuta hridayam munim anatosmi. So Srila Gurudev would recite that verse, which was recited by Sutta Goswami, who is the disciple of Shukadeva Goswami. Did you know that? Yes. So in this way, he knows more than Krishna, and this is why Krishna deputed him to remain in this world and to manifest the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then there's a whole pastime of how Vyasadeva was chasing after Shukadeva Goswami, who was completely renounced, completely in ecstatic love of Krishna, and he immediately left. He had no attachment whatsoever, but Vyasadeva was chasing after him and calling out, "Oh my son, oh my son." But he didn't even turn and look back, and only what? The trees echoed in response. So that personality, I'm paying my pranams to him, because munim anatosmi. Tam sarva bhuta hridayam munim anatosmi. That muni, that great sage, who can enter the hearts of all. That's how powerful Shukadeva Goswami is. So Gurudev is saying, try, therefore, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam with great care, great honor, and a strong belief that I do not need to do anything for my departure from this world. I need not worry about mukti, salvation, and I need not worry how I will achieve bhakti. Everything will come automatically by hearing. This is the mood Gurudev is telling. We must hear in this mood. With such firm faith, Krishna has promised, in the form of Harikatha, I enter the heart of the devotees and I manage everything. He is so powerful. Therefore, you need not worry. Srila Shukadeva Goswami has said that you should hear Srimad Bhagavatam throughout your whole life. He has not said that you should read it. Did he say anywhere that you should read Srimad Bhagavatam? Never. By reading, it will not come. We should hear. And this is true of Harinam also. First you should hear, Shravanam, then chant, Kirtanam, and so on. Srimad Bhagavatam also advises us to first listen to Hari Katha, and then we will be mature enough to explain it. Otherwise, our explanation, it will be like zero. So, now Gurudev is explaining that Hari Katha pleases Krishna. Hari Katha pleases Krishna, and it also pleases who? The soul, the Atma. Sri Shukadeva Goswami, he heard the question from all the rishis. Sri Sutta Goswami, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam. He heard the questions of all the rishis. Now Gurudev is quoting these questions. Here's the verse from 119. Tatra tatranjasayushman bhavata yad vinishchitam pumsam ekantatak shreyas tanna samshitum arhasi. Please, therefore, this is the sages speaking to Sutta Goswami. Please, this is actually Shonaka Rishi, who is the leader of all the sages. So he's putting forward the questions of the sages. Please, therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and the ultimate good for the people in general. So that's their question. Now, the next verse, which is 2 verses later, verse 11, now they are mentioning. So in the verse that we just read, they're telling that, O Sutta Goswami, you should be blessed with many, many years of life. They're conveying their blessings to him. Hmm? Yes. And we want that you will explain to us in an easily understandable way. This is their point, that it should be very clear and easily understandable. You should explain to us what you have ascertained to be the absolute and the ultimate good for all the people in general. That's an important question, is it not? What is the absolute good for the whole human society? Please explain what you have ascertained in this regard, what you have concluded. Explain this so that all the people of the world can be benefited. Just like now, does the general population understand what is the absolute good to be attained in the human form of life? How they can attain it? What they need to do to attain it? They're clueless. They're just clueless. No one has given that knowledge to them. Oh, they may have some different religious faith and beliefs, but they have no actual transcendental, perfect, scientific knowledge. They don't have. So these sages are very concerned because they noticed how Kali Yuga was now coming. It was just at the end of Dwapara Yuga, beginning of Kali Yuga. And they had gathered together in the forest to perform a sacrifice, a yajna, for 1,000 years. They were prepared to do for 1,000 years. So now the next verse that they put forward, Atak sadhu trayatsaram samudritya manishaya bruhi badraya bhutanam yenatma suprasidati. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instruction their heart may be fully satisfied. Atma samprasidati. So the rishis requested to Sutta Goswami, tell us the essence of all the scriptures, the Vedas, Upanishads, and also Srimad Bhagavatam. And by following them, our Atma, our soul, will be satisfied and happy. But there is a deeper meaning to this term, yenatma suprasidati. Repeat after me. Yenatma suprasidati. Suprasidati. Yenatma suprasidati. So this means by which the Atma can become suprasidati, fully satisfied on the level of the Atma. But Gurudev is saying there's a deeper meaning to this yenatma suprasidati. He says Atma here refers to the Atma of all Atmas. That means Krishna. He is the Atma of the Atma. You understand? He is the self of the self. So, if Krishna is satisfied and pleased, then the whole world is pleased. Right? Because he's the soul of everyone's soul. So if he is pleased, the soul automatically becomes pleased. We should try to please Krishna. then our soul will automatically be happy. If you do everything to please yourself, your own soul, then Krishna cannot be pleased, and you also cannot be pleased. If you just try to please your own self, no, Krishna will not be pleased, and you cannot be pleased. The best process is to please Krishna by all your activities. And then you will see that your Atma is happy, and others' Atmas are also happy. So then comes the famous verse. Sutta Goswami is saying, Savai Pungsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Adhokshaje Ahoituki Apratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. Here again is the word Yayatma Suprasidati. And this is the verse that introduces bhakti. In this chapter, this is the verse that is introducing bhakti to adhokshaja. If someone performs this bhakti to Krishna, who is called adhokshaja, he is the transcendental Supreme Lord, then this is the highest dharma, paradharma, savai pungsam paradharma. And if that bhakti is performed to him without any other motivation, ahoituki, only for pleasing him, and apratihata, never interrupted by any other thing, constantly flowing, then yayatma suprasidati. By that, the soul will be completely satisfied. So, in this way, now, this verse is leading deeper and deeper into explaining how Harikatha pleases Krishna and the Atma and the soul, both. So we'll continue this tomorrow. I guess we're not going to get very far before the festival, but that's quite okay, because the better that we understand thoroughly some subject matter, and the way that Gurudev is explaining this is very, very special. I'm remembering as I'm reading this, sitting in front of Gurudev and hearing this, but reading this again so many years later, I'm getting all these impressions coming. How Srila Gurudev so wonderfully presented all these topics. And if we read this, we understand this, and we review this, and then we try to do bhakti purely, all these instructions, they'll come into our heart. In course of time, they'll all come into our heart. Gaur Premanandi. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shukadev Goswami Pad Ki Jai. Sutta Goswami Pad Ki Jai. Jai Shri Vyasadeva Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rupanura